It is now in order to consider Amendment Number 20, printed in Part B of House Report 118-559. For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Georgia seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I have an amendment at the desk.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
Number 20, printed in Part B of House Report Number 118-559, offered by Ms. Greene of Georgia.
Pursuant to House Resolution 1316, the gentlewoman from Georgia, Ms. Greene, and a member opposed will each control 5 minutes. The chair now recognizes the gentlewoman from Georgia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The American people are over $34.5 trillion in debt thanks to the decisions made here in Washington, D.C. My amendment would prohibit $1.6 billion of funding for the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, which sends billions of American taxpayer dollars every single year to foreign nations across the world. USAID was responsible for the management of more than $40 billion in combined annual appropriations in fiscal year of 2022, representing more than 1/3 of the funds provided in the Department of State Foreign Operations and Related Programs appropriation bill. Imagine if this money went to Americans who, by the way, are paying for it instead of foreign countries. Maybe we could solve some of the problems we have here at home. That year, USAID provided assistance to over 130 foreign countries. The top countries that received money from most to least were Ukraine, Ethiopia, Yemen, South Sudan, Somalia, Nigeria, Afghanistan, the Congo, Syria, and Sudan. Among the wasteful things USAID has funded in recent years, under Samantha Power's tenure, by the way, are programs like $385 million DREAMS Initiative, Determined, Resilient, Empowered, AIDS-Free, Mentored, and Safe, a program under PEPFAR which aims to reduce rates of HIV among adolescent girls around the world. We certainly care about girls around the world, but we really care about our American taxpayers helping Americans at home. DREAMS has provided millions of girls with family planning, counseling, contraceptives, and referrals. In 2022, more than 275,000 sex workers and many others around the world received HIV medication from USAID. Again, the American people are over $34.5 trillion in debt, and 300 Americans die every single day from fentanyl poisoning. USAID also implements programs that identify and respond to the unique needs of women, men, girls, boys, and those of other gender identities. By the way, there aren't any. There's only two. Of all ages and abilities and their diversity, so they can equally access and use HIV prevention and treatment services, protect themselves, protect healthy behaviors, exercise their rights, and live free from violence, stigma, and discrimination. I think Americans here would like to live free from violence, but again, our border is overrun. Since 2014, USAID has led the coordination and implementation of PEPFAR's Sustainable Financing Initiative. PEPFAR, by the way, is receiving over $5 billion in funding from the American people. With investments of $48 million, the USAID-led SFI generated more than $361 million of domestic resources for HIV across 16 countries and 2 regional programs over 6 years. In Tanzania, USAID helped access $7.8 million in private sector financing for private clinics. This investment resulted in 35% increase in HIV testing and over 10,000 patients tested and 100% of positive patients linked to care. In Nigeria, USAID engaged in private pharmacies to provide HIV treatment. Meanwhile, the fentanyl drug crisis continues to rage across America, but we continue to fund USAID with billions of dollars to address AIDS and other diseases all over the world. We should be caring about Americans, and we should be funding the treatment for Americans here at home from a weapon of mass destruction that is murdering Americans every single day. The American tax people are funding this, and the American tax people want their problems solved. They want Americans protected. They want to feel safe and secure at home, not to be the piggy bank of the world, which is what USAID is. Mr. Speaker, I reserve.
Gentlewoman from Georgia reserves. For what purpose does gentlewoman from California seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I claim the time in opposition.
Gentlewoman from California is recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I rise in strong opposition to this amendment. The United States Agency for International Development is essential to global stability, asserting United States leadership and foreign policy influence, advancing security and prosperity worldwide. USAID is the leader of the United States global humanitarian and development work, ensuring strong stewardship and accountability of U.S. tax dollars and making tangible improvements in the lives of millions of people all around the world. This amendment would force USAID to close all of its missions and terminate its programs overseas. It's highly ironic that the Department of Defense, that this Congress cannot seem to give enough money to, would be the first people to decry the loss of these programs in building security and stability around the world. Without USAID, millions of children with malaria would go untreated and hundreds of thousands of people would die of tuberculosis. Without USAID, millions of the most vulnerable people in the world would be hungrier, as well as lose access to quality education and clean water. USAID teams are working day and night to address catastrophic humanitarian crises in Gaza, Ukraine, Sudan, and beyond, and continued battering from a growing number of natural disasters during this particularly strong El Nino. This has led to a number of people requiring humanitarian assistance to increase by nearly a third, from 274 million in 2022 to 363 million at the end of 2023. With regard to PEPFAR, yes, I was the author of PEPFAR and worked with Republicans, primarily President Bush, to make sure that the United States was on the right side of history by just basically saving lives. We've saved over 25 million lives thanks to PEPFAR. And I think that's a real testament to how it was in the past in this House of Representatives, where Democrats and Republicans worked together to save lives. And I'm very proud of that effort. And I know that this amendment would harm that effort to achieve an AIDS-free generation by 2030. It's harmful. We must not reduce our development and humanitarian efforts. We wouldn't be able to counter the PRC's influence, Russia. What we're doing is opening the door for their expanded global influence also, if that's all you care about. So I urge my colleagues to oppose this amendment, and I reserve the balance of my time.
From California reserves, gentlewoman from Georgia is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, how much time do I have remaining?
Gentlewoman from Georgia has 30 seconds remaining.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd also like to tell the House that USAID has been an arm of the Democrat Party. 96% of all political contributions from USAID employees go to the Democrat Party candidates or PACs. Also, just months before the national elections, over 1,000 USAID staff issued a statement echoing Democrat talking points. Here's the issue. Our government is not a charity. And the American people are the most generous people in the world, sending unknown amounts of money constantly to every cause to save people's lives. I urge the House to pass my amendment, support our country, America first, and with that, I yield.
The gentlewoman's time has expired. The gentlewoman from California is recognized.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, let me just say that I realize the United States is not a charity, but I believe there are many in this country that believe we are our brother's keepers, we are our sister's keepers, and we have a duty to those less fortunate. And in fact, USAID is providing remarkable humanitarian assistance to those who need the United States' generosity and support. I ask for a no vote on this amendment, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentlewoman from California yields back. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentlewoman from Georgia. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the noes have it. The amendment is not agreed to. For what purpose does the
Speaker,
gentlewoman from Georgia seek recognition?
I ask for a recorded vote.
A recorded vote has been requested pursuant to Clause 6 of Rule 18. Further proceedings on the amendment by the gentlewoman from Georgia will be postponed.